Welcome back to Satisfactory Update 4 and to one of my short episode videos. Now, I'm not sure if these short episode videos are actually desired or not, but I mean, I'm enjoying making them, so why not? There is one thing, I'm probably going to talk about this in a channel update video instead of blabbering about it across several videos. I recently started up a Mass Effect playthrough where I mentioned something in the first episode about time commitment and views on the videos. And there's one thing that I want to clarify in regards to that, because a lot of people who do YouTube are worried about the views, and one of the reasons they are worried about the views is, of course, the revenue. I am not worried about the revenue at all, because I don't need that revenue. It's nice to have that revenue, because it means that, for instance, I could buy Mass Effect Legendary Edition, but the thing that I am worried about in terms of the views is that if I see that a video has, or a series has, like, consistently 50 views on a video, then that means most likely that it's not really entertaining to you guys in the broader audience that I have. But I do know that for some of the series, like Satisfactory, which is a very important game for my channel, because both it's probably the primary game that my channel is associated with by now, but also I love the game and there is so much that I want to do in this game. There's a reason I have more than 2,000 hours in the game. So with this game, I don't care that much about the views, but take, for instance, my recent Pharaoh series, where I noticed that the views weren't really that good. So, okay, there's this many hours in the day that I can do streaming, there's this many hours in the day that I can do recording, and since I am on welfare benefits, I have many of those hours available, but there's also other things that happen in life, you know, real life, family, things like that, which also needs time and attention. So when I make things, I have to consider that factor in. But the primary thing, of course, is, as I mentioned, I want to be able to make content that is entertaining for you guys to look at and to listen to and to comment on and to interact with and so forth. So please let me know if you guys want me to record something else. I mean, I'll still publish the long episode streams, which have been more viewed than I expected them to be, actually. So maybe, or rather, let me know if you have suggestions to what you would like me to record. I will, that would be very welcome. But also let me know if you feel that this series is redundant, like you're watching both, or if you don't want to watch the long series but you really want me to continue to play this, please let me know that as well. In the comment section, I would very much appreciate the feedback. And yes, I understand that not everyone is going to comment, obviously. So I have to take a certain gauge out of the comments. But enough about that. It's been 4 minutes already, and I haven't shown you guys anything of the new stuff that I've done. So let's get to the factory. And for those of you who do comment, thank you. It is very appreciated. So, as you can see here in the base, there have been changes. I want to go through things chronologically-ish, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do so. We can start with the main base. The main base is torn down one more time and rebuilt. These smelters, I don't think I'm using... No, I'm not. I'm using Mark 1 miners on these still. I haven't upgraded these to Mark 2 because I didn't need more than these 8 smelters, and I actually think that I'm using less than these 8 smelters are producing. I don't have a spreadsheet yet because all of this is just temporary, and even this will be torn down at some point, so it doesn't make sense for me to have a spreadsheet of everything. But anyways, I have 8 smelters here making iron ingots, and this line here is a various assortment of products that I'm making. We start with iron plate, where we have 2 machines that are dedicated to making iron plate for this container. I don't even have a proper mold yet, so I have tiny boutiques here and there in place. Then we have these 3 machines that are also producing iron plate. I think, yeah, this one is clocked because they are producing an exact amount that is needed for these 2 machines here. We'll get back to that. These machines are producing iron wire, and we have 4 of them, I think, where one is clocked down to per minute. And then we have these machines here, where we have 3 here that are making cast screw. Are any of these clocked? Yes, this one is clocked to 40 per minute. And then finally we have these 2 machines here that are producing iron rods, and those iron rods are again one of these boutiques. They are just sent into a container. The screws I'm not storing anywhere. If I need screws, I can scrounge them from these or machines that are using them. This setup is designed to make reinforced iron plate. We have 2 machines here that produce reinforced iron plate, and then we are using a smart splitter here to put some of them into this container, and the main brunt of them goes into this assembler, which is responsible for making modular frames. Note that I'm using alternate recipes all over the place already. So the reinforced iron plate here is made from stitched iron plate, wire and iron plate instead of screws and iron plate. The modular frames, we're using the bolted frame recipe, which means reinforced iron plate and screws. But this recipe is a bit of a pain this early on because I can only have 1 of them per belt unless I underclock one of them, because 280, that's 10 more than a Mark III belt can carry. Back at the time when I was doing this, I also had some struggles because I needed more reinforced iron plates for Mark II belts. So that led me to setting up this part here, where I have 8 smelters going from that miner, and that is a Mark II miner. That is also a Mark II miner, by the way. And this is sent into this line here, making iron plates. I think all of these are making iron plates, actually. Yeah, I have 5 of them making iron plate, 1 of them clocked down to half speed. And then the next row here are responsible for making screws, using the cast screw recipe, of course. So we have, is this one clocked? No, so we have 2, 4, 5 of these, so we're making 250 screw. And that then goes to this machine, to a recipe that I would not normally use, the bolted iron plate. But I needed reinforced iron plate to be produced quickly. So that's why I'm using this one, because it makes 15 per minute. This is not a bad recipe, but the stitched iron plate is the superior recipe in terms of both power consumption and also resource consumption. So it would have been better of me to set up more of these, but I had some time constraints, and it's going to be torn down again anyways, so yeah. After I had done that part, I believe that, yeah, then we had this one. This one actually came after this one, because this part here, again, we have a belt coming into a splitter, and it goes to 2 separate sections here. But I think all of these are producing iron wire, actually. This one being clocked to 44.444 or 10 per minute. And the one end here might be clocked, but I don't think so. No. So I have 1 of them clocked down, and as you can see, there's a fair amount of these down here. There should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.444444 machines. I'd like to count an underclocked machine as a fraction of one machine. So there is a lot of iron wire here, and that wire is going into these two lines here, where I'm using this splitter to actually send overflow over there. The reason for that is that this side just needs a tiny bit compared to this side. These machines, which are producing stators, require 40 wire per minute, and this side requires 30 per minute. So I want these machines to be filled up first and foremost, and it'll all even or balance out in the end anyways, so might not be needed, but I put it down there anyways. So I've got 4 machines making rotors, and I'm using the alternate recipe for this. That is not an optimal alternate recipe, just so you're aware, but it makes things a heck of a lot easier since it uses the exact same products as the stator. Steel pipe and wire. So it's just simpler to set it up like that. And then I have 2 machines making motors from those rotors and stators, so we are making a total of 40 rotors, 40 stators, and then of course 10 motors, which are being stored in this little container over here. Now, after I had done that part, we unlocked the refineries. So we'll use my little cannon here. I try to not have too many of them because that can cause motion sickness. So if you see me heading towards one of those and you are prone to motion sickness, then look away until the boom 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 sounds are gone, because I don't want you guys to struggle with motion sickness. It's the same as with the train spirals. That's a benefit of it being a YouTube video, because you can see where I'm headed off and I can warn you. But I will forget to mention that I'm heading into one of those cannons, so please take a look at what I'm doing, so that if you are prone to motion sickness, you don't have to deal with that, because I don't want you to struggle with that. And it just puts me down here at the other side. I think 6 to 8 is the maximum of what I'm going to use on these cannons for speed. So the refinery here is literally set up exactly as my tutorial. Oh, I've forgotten a chest with stuff here. Can I take that with me? Can. Good. So we have 2 oil nodes. Both of them are normal. I haven't clocked them. And 120 cubic meters of crude oil is exactly what we need on each side. We have 4 refineries on this side, each requiring 30, and these are producing plastic and heavy oil residue, which gives us a total of 80 plastic per minute as per my tutorial. And this side is producing rubber, again 80 rubber per minute, also 80 heavy oil residue, whereas the plastic ones give us 40 heavy oil residue. That would be a total of 120, again as per my tutorial of course. And that goes over there to, or the crude oil is from that oil node, which is also a normal oil node, which I also have not clocked. You might have noticed that my current milestone is Pipeline Engineering Mark II, and there's a very good reason for that. Now, here you can see that I have everything going into this merger here. But it isn't really that simple. I have 2 smart splitters here. So the products come out on the front of the refineries and they go backwards, as you can see, into those smart splitters. Each of these smart splitters are set to have the center output open, whereas the right output is set to overflow. So I am sinking all overflow rubber and plastic in the sink over here. And that has given me some coupons, but it's starting to get really expensive. But this keeps going on. You can see I have a global of almost 13,000 per minute, and that is purely from plastic and rubber at this point. So that has been a bit beneficial. I have 2 storage containers here, and I haven't built any storage container in the base for them yet, and I suspect that I won't either. you may also have noticed the setup that I had up there. The belts are also going back to the base, and that happens directly from the containers. So these will respect the fact that the belts going back to the base will need either plastic and or rubber before sinking any of the products, which is exactly how I want it to be. The heavy oil, of course, is being pumped, or rather, well, it is being pumped by the refineries, but there are no pumps here because this is within the 10-meter head lift default from the refinery. All of the machines that generate a liquid will give you a default of 10-meter head lift, as I'm sure most of you are aware of now. And remember that these actually come out at a height of 1 meter. So you can measure this quite easily, actually. 10 meters. 10 meters from the input or output of the output would probably be the most relevant, but that is if you build stackable conveyor poles. Each of them are 2 meters high, so that's 2 meters, 4 meters, 6 meters, 8 meters, 10 meters. So you could have 5 of them in a stack, and this is how high a pipe can be if you go out from the refinery or whatever building. You can put down this is 8 meters. Now if I go to the stackable pipeline support, you would see 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Now since the output is here, this is exactly what will work with the output. So this is the highest you can make a pipe. However, I would avoid doing that as it can get unreliable. So I would never go above this height, just to be sure. But that's my personal sentiment, of course. Your mileage may vary. These refineries, I have 3 of them. I can remove one of the sinks now. At the time I didn't have access to Mark III belts, which I do now. So these refineries are set to make petroleum coke, which are being synced. So, and these are running constantly since I am also syncing the overflow of the plastic and rubber production. There are 2 more oil nodes out here, 2 pure. One of them is over there. There's probably a big spitter over there as well. And the other one is handily just in somewhere around trees here. And those are going to be used for power generation. So we are going to have some rather large fuel generator setups out here. I haven't decided exactly how I want to do that, and that's going to be a permanent setup. So this setup is probably one of the first setups when I do that is actually going to be made architecturally pleasing, or at least I will give it my best attempt. I can't make any promises. Okay, hypertube cannon incoming. As you can see, my speed is dramatically faster than it would normally be, so the hypertube cannons are definitely worth it. You can also see I have a belt on each side of the hypertube, one carrying plastic, the other carrying rubber. But you, of course, already saw that when we headed out to the refinery, so I guess that's kind of redundant information. But as Wally likes to say, I am rather good at giving redundant information, so no shame at all. I don't remember exactly why I wanted to belt this into the factory, or rather the temporary main base, but there was a reason for it, and I can't remember, so... But this is where I needed the reinforced iron plates, because as you can see, these belts are rather long, and I actually ran out of reinforced iron plates. And when you are producing 11 per minute, that's 110 per 10 minutes. So increasing it to at least 260 per minute with the additional 15, that helped. So you can also see that I have set up some power storages. The reason I did that was because of the consumption maximum now is above our production. And you might be wondering why we're producing 2,400 megawatts, but we're also going to get back to that. As a matter of fact, we can get back to that immediately because I did set that up. I need to clear out those stuffies from my inventory before we can do that. Go here and you go here, and these go here. And the wood goes in here. I need to set up some assembler or constructors that can make biofuel for this. I also have a hypertube going up there because I kept falling down and damaging my ankle, which isn't ideal. I need a stack of fuel to put in the car because, as you can see, I am running low at 60. And we are going for a little bit of a drive because the one place that I have not built a hypertube to is the coal power plant. Except for that, my outposts all have hypertubes. Well, one of them kind of does, but doesn't really. But yeah, there's a small walk from the area where the hypertube stops, actually, now that I consider it. But let's go up to the coal power plant where I did some additional things. There was someone... Yeah, the thing that I mentioned in the last episode about saturating the coal power plants with coal before you add water, I would still do that. But as someone also pointed out in the comments, and thank you for that, one of the problems was also that my splitting was anything but ideal. I might as well have put in a manifold there instead of doing all of the additional stuff that I built up there. Because when you have one splitter that goes 3-3-2 in terms of the coal generators, you don't get a good split. You will end up with the 2 being filled up with coal before the 2 segments of 3. So that build might have worked if I had actually done a proper split. But a proper split would have been splitting it into 2-2-2-2, which would then have been split from 2-2, which would then have been split from 1, I believe, if my brain functions, which I cannot guarantee that it does, as per usual. But yeah, it would take a lot of space, and it would also be a little bit annoying. So my best suggestion is you can just do a manifold, just saturate everything with coal and then connect up the water afterwards, and you're fine. So what I did out here was, I didn't do anything with the old build. Well, I did upgrade the belts. They are now Mark III. And I also upgraded the miners. They are now Mark II, because I needed more power. And to get more power, I needed to expand the coal power plants, of course. These should still be at 301. They are, because I'm not using them. They are the Kickstarter. Although with the power storages, this really is rather redundant, because just have power storages, fill them up and disconnect them from the power grid, and that could be your Kickstarter. But at the time I built this, I did not have the power storages. So as you can see here, we have more pipes, 2 more pipes here and 2 more pipes here. These gave me some difficulties. I had to add pumps because they are so long that I don't remember. I have pumps here. Yes, I have pumps here because the pumps both pump as in the water here gets sucked by the pump into the next segment, but it also, if you don't have the pumps, then all of these pipes will be saturated before it gets up to where you want it to be. Which is something that I explained a little bit about in my previous series in the Dune Desert. So I also have pumps here from the 4 pipelines coming up from those 6 new water extractors. I can't wait to tear all this down because this is such a mess that it's like, wow. And I'm really not that happy about this, but keep in mind that that was actually good good comment and good advice. After I streamed today, I rated Runestone Gaming, who had the advice to just not bother too much with the spaghetti at the beginning. Just get everything unlocked. Don't be cheap on the coupons. Sink as much as you can, get as many coupons as you can, buy the things you need to unlock the tiers or the tier milestones in the hub with the coupons, and just get up to the highest tier as quickly as possible. If, and that's a big if you are interested in the larger building aspect of the game. I would not recommend doing that if you're new to the game, because that would ruin a lot of the challenges of finding out things, exploring things, building things for the first time, and so forth. So that is a more advanced player strategy when you're very familiar with the game. Now we have the pipes up here. I tried splicing in on the 5th generator. That was not a good idea. I had to splice in on the 6th. Otherwise, the last two in both lines wouldn't get enough water. Not sure what that is. Probably a miscalculation on my part. But yeah, we are generating 2,400 megawatts of power from these 32 coal generators up here, and I must confess that this looks a lot better than this area down here. But yeah, here you can see these two get coal from that one, and then these three get coal from this one, and these three get coal from this one. So it should have been 2 and then 2 and then 2 and then 2. And I'm not sure the rest of the splitting. It gets complicated in my head, as things are wont to do. Now, some of the content in this video comes out before I actually release the long play video, but I don't think that's a big problem. And that is the next segment we get to now. Since I didn't stream yesterday, and the Twitch terms of service does not allow me to publish the video on YouTube or any other platform until after 24 hours, I have to adhere to that agreement, of course. So the stuff that you will be seeing now is what I did in today's stream. We have quartz coming in from the Quartz Cave, which is in this direction. For those of you who remember my my Rocky Desert series, you will remember this. I am not that fond of doing the belt the way that I did it here, but I didn't bother building foundations for the belt, and there's a very good reason for that. I think that my train line is going to go through this cave, which will be interesting to build and to see if it is even possible. So over here, of course, is the Quartz Cave that has 2 pure nodes of quartz, which is very nice. This area also has this water resource well, and it also has a pure limestone node there. So this place is like designed for doing quartz stuff. There's not really much to show here now. It's just the concrete foundations and the 2 miners, one of which isn't hooked up. And then there's the cave up there that I am very curious about exploring when I get nobelisks. But this place here is very, very likely to be turned into some massive factory for quartz and quartz products like silica. Probably going to use the pure silica. I'm getting the water from that resource well there, so probably I will not have to deal with silly things like piping in water from the ocean or anything like that. So that's going to be nice. And I do plan on having plenty of power available, so overclocking that resource well, that shouldn't be a problem at all. Let's go back through the cave, which is always interesting. There were some spiders and some bees in the cave, but I sent them off to the eternal spider hunting fields and the eternal honey keeping fields for the bees. Sure, the bees in this game make honey, but yeah, let's pretend they do. Now, the outpost that I want to show, I would actually prefer to use the hypertube for that, but I can park the car here and go back and pick it up after the video. So, here is the new outpost that I've built out here. This area should also be familiar to many of you. These two miners are on respectively a pure iron node each. I didn't bother connecting up the power to that one, but I wanted to build the miner so I know where the node is. And this goes to 8 smelters, which is overkill currently, but I'm not that bothered with the power since they only require 4 each. Then there's a rather interesting setup of of constructors here. Over here, at the very end over there, we have a miner that is on a pure copper node, which is great. So we have the smelters here that are smelting copper ingots. This is also a tad overkill for our use, because I'm definitely not using this many copper ingots. As you can see, I have 2 machines here making copper sheets, one of them even underclocked to 7.6 per minute. Here we have 3 machines making wire, again one of them underclocked at 24 per minute, so 80%. Now the iron, well, first the cable. We have 2 machines making cable, one of them again underclocked to 12, which is 40%. So this is making a ratio perfect stuff for what's going on upstairs. At the other side here, we have the iron coming out from the smelters here. We have is this? Yeah, that's 2 machines making screws. One of them underclocked to 80%. We needed 90. And at the other side here, we have iron plates. 3 machines of those. One of them underclocked to 5, which is 25%. And those products, the iron plates and the screws, goes to these 2 assemblers, which are using the basic reinforced iron plate. I don't think that was the best decision, but I forgot to factor in the alternate recipes when I set this up. So at the time when I had set it up and discovered, I was like, okay, I'm just going with this for now, because again, temporary. Now, upstairs, we have 2 hypertubes going upstairs, and a ladder at the other side. Up here we have the raw quartz from the quartz mines coming into this area, and we are overproducing raw quartz massively currently. We have 1 machine making silica at 50% clock speed at that. We have 3 machines making the quartz crystals, one of them again underclocked, this one to 40%, making 9 per minute. I'm not storing either of them. I might start storing quartz crystals so that I can make lights. The silica goes down this way and is joined by the cable in the copper sheets in this assembler, which is using the alternate silicon circuit board recipe, which happens to be the best circuit board recipe in the game. And it's underclocked to 64% because we only need 8 per minute. As for the other things that I'm producing downstairs, that would be cable, it would be reinforced iron plates, and it would be the quartz crystals from over there. They go to these 3 manufacturers here that are all set to make crystal oscillators. They are all set to make 1 each at 100% because we need 3 per minute for the final product here. And that final product is, of course, computers. And I'm just using the crystal computer now. It's not the best recipe, but just to get computers early on, it is a good recipe. So that is why. It's also quicker to set up than the other ones, in my opinion. Of course, that opinion is very personal, and you might not agree. Perfectly fine, of course. So we started to gather up some computers. And the final thing that we needed for all of this was, of course, the heavy modular frames. Now, the heavy modular frames were built before this setup, So this setup is the last thing that I did. So the setup we're getting to now is something that I did in the previous stream. So for those of you who are watching the long series, you will recognize that, of course. This is the Caterium outpost, where we're making the quick wire. I have set up some hypertubes going out here as well. Because why not? Having hypertubes is nice. There is one more thing that I did, so we'll do a little. Here's the outpost. Borg cubes, aka heavy modular frames. There's one thing that I want to show before we go to that. Let's go back here. This belt on this side make the Borg cubes. They are very lonely, but Borg cubes are big things. They are expensive to make and they take a long time to build. Even Borg knows that. So let's take that hypertube backwards. If I can actually hit the jump pad. Boomp. I need to set up a hypertube cannon here as well, but I didn't bother. So you have the intersection down here. I could slow down, but I don't want to because I want us to continue. Then there's an intersection here. Again, it automatically takes us all the way out there unless I decide to slow down. The outpost you saw to our left there is a concrete outpost. It does nothing else but mine limestone and make concrete, which is belted in here as you can see. And that goes to the machines over here, and they are producing the encased industrial beams. We are using the encased industrial pipe recipe, of course. It is way more resource efficient than the other one. So I have 3 of these, making a total of 12 per minute. I'm storing the steel pipes here, but of course I am using the splitter here, where some of it goes off to there. This should have been a smart splitter actually. Then again, no, it shouldn't, because there are also items at the other end of this that need, like the rotors and the stators. This is the change that I've made out here. And let's go back. Now, when you're not using the cannon, the distance between the hypertubes is not long enough to, or it's not short enough, I should say, to actually push me into the next hypertube. When I come out of this one, I will land just in front of the hypertube entrance to the next one without going into it, which is nice, although not strictly necessary, because I can just slow down. Now, if it carries me into it, I'll be a bit embarrassed, but it didn't. So this works. I have a little platform here that takes me down, or rather up again. I have 2 miners mining iron ore here. I've overclocked one of them to 150 parts per minute, which is 125%, which means that I am saturating 1 full Mark III belt, which is more than I need, but this is rather involuted. I have built 9 smelters here, so that I make 270 per minute. And then those ingots go out into a very, very interesting setup. First, they go to this splitter here. A little bit of it goes over here. And this line here produces screws. Plenty of them. Then we have this splitter here that splits off some of it down this way, and then the rest of it goes down to the other screw assemblers or screw constructors. The screws respectively come out on 3 different levels. This level, the next level, and the final level. And then we have the steel pipes coming in on the belt. No, that's encased industrial beams actually coming in on the belt on top there. Then the other side, or the other split over here, goes to these machines, where we have some making iron plate. I believe some of them are underclocked. Yes, this one is at 50% speed, so 2.5. And then we have iron wire, and this should also have one underclocked as per what we had in the base. So yes, the same 4 or 10 per minute. And that you will probably recognize as what is needed for making reinforced iron plate using the stitched iron plate recipe. In this setup, I underclocked all 3 machines to 5 per minute, so that's 88 point all of those numbers percent, instead of just underclocking one of them, and that's to save a little bit of power. 12.4 instead of... Power grid is stable, but I'm glad that I have the capacity where I have 2000 megawatts in or megawatt hours stored, because that should last me quite some time if I were to over consume power. These machines are making the modular frames, or rather the baby bore cubes, using the bolted frame recipe again, so that's where some of the screws go to. And I had to take 2 belts of screws, which is why I have segments of 3 and 3, so that I'm producing exactly 140 screws per minute for each of these, due to the limitation of the current belt speed. The rest of the screws are going to the Borg cube factory, this one, which requires steel pipe and heavy encased industrial, encased industrial beam, 10 per minute. Remember, we're making 12 per minute. 200 screws per minute, 10 modular frames per minute. So this is all of the stuff you see here is, and in addition, the stuff out at the steel outpost is supplying this one machine. The steel pipes for this machine I took down from the belt up there. I'll show you when we get back there. So yeah, it isn't pretty what I've done, but it's efficient and it works. And that was my primary concern when I did what I did here, because all of what I've done is temporary, as I have mentioned, and I'm doing it like this on purpose because I want to well, this is not necessary, so we can just throw that away. So at some point, when we get proper transportation facilities, that would be trains and drones, this is going to be torn down again, except for the miners and smelters, and this is going to be a smelting outpost, or there's going to be a smelting outpost station, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 of them in the Dune Desert. I'm not sure, there might be just one big one in the middle, and then that will transport the ingots to a production facility somewhere. Now let's pop on over to the other junction here, where I have just a simple splitter, and it's sending a little bit on a Mark 1 belt here. I didn't bother making this a smart splitter, and the rest goes on Mark 2 belt into the base where I need more of them. There's a Borg cube. And I think that's about it. I think that's basically what I've done since the last episode. I've built these sky bridges, of course. They are also temporary. I needed some place to put my hypertubes and my belts for now, so things will change. Things will definitely change. I'm not convinced about having the elevators or lifts inside of those. I'm not sure. We'll see how that goes, if I will continue that use or if I'll do something different. You saw that we had a bit of computers lying around. We don't have that many Borg cubes, but the computers produce at 3 per minute, whereas these produce at 2 per minute, so it takes a bit longer with these. So trains is still a little bit a ways off, although I could use coupons to buy the Borg cubes from the awesome shop, of course. But yes, that is about it for what I have done. I need to set up some processing of these leaves and the wood so that I can make more solid biofuel, primarily for the chainsaw. I will also be experimenting with colors in this factory. So I have unlocked the paint gun. I don't remember if I've unlocked the... yes, I've unlocked the flower petals tree, so I can make both the color gun and the color cartridges. And that's on the agenda as well, but not until we have unlocked most of what unlock. Our current status here, before we end the episode, is in tier 5 we have oil processing, we have industrial manufacturing, we have alternative fluid transport. It's nice. I haven't unlocked the gas mask yet. I need to make some fabric for that, especially since it gives me more inventory slots. So the gas mask is nice to have. But this one is the primary thing. I can make Mark IV belts now. Or rather, yes, I can make Mark IV belts now, which is nice. Because that means I can redo things another time. But I'm not sure if I'm going to redo a lot, because my primary purpose right now is the fuel generators. That's what I'm going to focus on. And the fuel generators, well, the problem with the fuel generators is, of course, require the heavy modular frames, aka the bore cubes. So I can't build a lot of them at once, or I would have to go buy a lot of the modular frames from the awesome shop, and I think they're quite pricey. 6 for 50, and I don't really have that many tickets. I have 3 in here and I have 14 in here, so I could get a whopping 100 of them, which isn't really that useful. So I might just leave the factory running for a couple of hours so that I can fill up the bore cube assembly or storage. But I don't know. We'll see. Anyhow, if you have any questions or comments, then please feel free to leave those in the comment section. And as usual, I will extend my invitation to the Discord server. You'll find the link to that in the description. And of course, the comments and questions go in the comment section, not in... I don't know why my brain likes to do that little mess up. Maybe I didn't do it, maybe I just imagined that I did it. I don't know. But you guys know what I mean, and yeah. So, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that you are enjoying this series as well, and that you are eager to see what I can come up with in terms of designs and ideas for this factory, because I'm at least looking forward to it a great deal, and I'm having a great deal of fun with the game still, which is actually quite amazing, since it's very rare for a game to hold this long attention span for me. It's one of the few games that is not an MMO that I have more than 2,000 hours in. That speaks volumes. But again, for now, thank you all so much for joining me, and I will be seeing you all either in the streams or in the next episode.